Hello, ladies. We are now in Chapter 3, putting your speech together. As you see on the screen, great speakers aren't born, they're trained. What does this mean? One can become one of the best speakers if he or she undergoes training in all possible ways. All evergreen quotes like, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for the country," were all delivered by people who trained themselves hard to make eloquent speeches. Can you be one of them? The answer is yes, provided you work a lot. With this introduction, let's pass on to today's topic. Chapter Challenge. This chapter will help you organize and outline your thoughts and information so that you can deliver a logical, clear speech. When you complete this chapter, you'll be able to, firstly, prepare the introduction, body, and conclusion of a speech. Secondly, use an outline to plan and deliver a speech. Finally, plan, prepare, and present a personal opinion speech. As we all know, every speech has three parts: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Which part of a speech do you think you should prepare first? The answer will surprise you. First, you prepare the body of your speech. Then you prepare the conclusion. Finally, you prepare the introduction. Most good speeches follow this pattern while preparing to make them effective and appealing. In any speech, the body is where the speaker will emotionally connect with an audience and prompt them into action. Most professional speechwriters agree that the body of a speech should be written first before you decide on an appropriate opener or a conclusion. To prepare the body, first list subtopics that you might include in your speech. Write them as you think of them. Some ideas will be important and some will not. At this stage, you should just concentrate on writing all the ideas you can think of that relate to the topic of your speech. Second, narrow your list of subtopics. Review your list and select the 3 or 4 subtopics that will best develop your speech in the time allowed. These subtopics will become the main headings of your speech. Finally, develop your subtopics with factual information, logical proof, and presentation aids. If your subtopics are supported and well organized, they will be interesting and your listeners will understand and remember your speech better. The next step is the preparation of the conclusion. The purpose of a conclusion is to briefly summarize your speech, to leave the audience with a clear takeaway, and to signal the end of your speech. Ending a speech with, "So, that's it," or "Okay, I'm done," is unacceptable. It is also unacceptable to introduce a new idea in your conclusion. A conclusion must be clear, memorable, and brief. How brief? No more than 5 to 10% of the total speech. In that time, you must achieve 2 goals. A conclusion should include a clear review of the main points of the speech. The purpose is to remind the audience of the main ideas that were covered in the speech. It should also provide a lasting thought while clearly indicating the end of your speech. The last thing a speaker says should set the tone, motivation, or intrigue that the audience should take away from having listened to the presentation. The last step is your introduction. See, the process of preparing a speech is the other way round of what we normally do. It's just upside down. A good introduction includes an attention-getting opener that captures your listener's attention immediately. The introduction also contains a preview of the main points in the body of the speech. Some methods for opening your speech and getting listeners' attention include telling a brief story, asking your listeners a question to arouse their curiosity, shocking your audience with a startling fact or quotation. Next, an effective preview. Tells listeners the main ideas in the body of the speech. Helps listeners to follow information easily as you progress through the speech. After you have all done with preparing your presentation, check the 10 points given in the checklist here. Once you are fully satisfied with your script, and if all the items in the checklist are okayed, start a practice with several rehearsals. Practice again and again until you become fully confident. Now let's listen to Fatima's presentation. Pay attention to her organization, vocabulary, and style of speaking.
Listen to Fatima's model speech. Pay attention to her organization.
I never go out to lunch with friends. I don't go to movies. During the holidays, I can't go home to Egypt to be with my family. Why? I have no money. After paying for my tuition, books, rent, and transportation every month, I have almost no money left. When I applied for my student visa to come to the United States, I couldn't believe my ears when I found out I wouldn't be allowed to work full-time and go to school at the same time. In my opinion, it isn't fair that most international students aren't allowed to work full-time while they're studying in the United States. So today, I'd like to present 3 good reasons why I believe foreign students should be allowed to work as much as they'd like. First, working would help us pay our many different expenses. Second, being in a workplace with Americans would help us improve our proficiency in English. Third, working would help us learn American customs. My first point is that we should be allowed to work as much as we need to in order to help us pay our bills. Before I came to the United States, I knew it would be expensive to live here, but I didn't realize how expensive. The reality is, I don't have enough money to pay for my tuition and living expenses and buy all my textbooks too. To save money, I try to borrow books from friends, but sometimes they can't lend me their books and I can't do my homework. A couple of times I even had to borrow money so I could buy groceries. I felt like this beggar. Also, I have to share an apartment with 4 other students. They like to play loud music and I can't study. It stresses me out when they won't be quiet. If I could make more money, I could get an apartment with just 1 roommate. Then I could have some peace and quiet and get my studying done. Also, during the holidays, I would be able to afford a plane ticket back to Egypt. Okay, my second reason for wanting a full-time job is that it would help me improve my English. I would have the opportunity and the need to practice speaking English more. I would also have more chances to practice listening to different English speakers. So you see, being allowed to have a full-time job would help me learn English faster, and then I would do better in school too. My last reason for wanting to work full-time is that it would help me learn more about American customs. Depending upon where I worked, I'd see how Americans conduct business and act in different places, like offices, restaurants, stores, or sporting events. For example, my friend is a volunteer at a sports stadium. She learned that everyone stands up to show respect when the American national anthem is played at football and basketball games. Learning about customs like these would help me understand Americans better and make friends with them more easily. As you can see, I have some good reasons for my opinion that international students should be allowed to work as much as they want to. First, being able to have a full-time job would help us pay our bills. Second, it would help us improve our English. Third, it would help us learn more about American customs. Before I arrived in the United States, I was sure I'd be able to buy a car and live in a nice apartment. I was positive I'd have enough money to go out to eat and see a movie once in a while. But as they say, that's the way the ball bounces. If I want to study in the United States, I have to accept the law.
That's all for this unit. Now it's your turn. Prepare a topic, practice well, and submit before an audience for the forthcoming presentation quiz. Remember, practice makes you perfect. All the best.